Okay, hi everyone. So this training is focused on CLI end-to-end testing using batch. So we are writing end-to-end tests for Meshery CTL, which is the CLI for Meshery. And since no tests were written, currently this area is very active, and there's a lot of opportunity for you to jump in. Plus, another benefit of getting started with this is that you understand Meshery CTL commands, so you can also eventually, by writing tests, you understand Meshery CTL, and then you can start contributing to that as well. So this is a pretty good area for you to get started. About myself, I am Riya, and I am a fourth year undergrad, and I've been contributing to Meshery for about 3 months now. So yeah, that's about me, and let's get started. The prerequisites, it's simple that we will be working with this repository Meshery, the Meshery repo, the where you created the PR as well, that Vivek was guiding you through. So this is the link to that. I'll be sharing the slide deck, so you can have access to all the links, so don't worry about that. The next is starting resources. So you must have when you got to know about this training, you must have got familiar with the words like Meshery CTL and BATS. So what is Meshery CTL? Meshery CTL is the CLI for Meshery, so you can interact with your Meshery servers, and basically all the functionalities you can interact with Meshery through your terminal. So this is what Meshery CTL provides, and you can make use of all the Meshery functionality. Uh, Bats is like a nice wrapper around Bash scripting, if you know. So you can write tests in Bash as well, like you can write Bash scripts for all these end-to-end tests. But why are we using Bats? It's because it gives a very nice structure to the test, and it makes it more readable, and we are able to debug pretty in a pretty nice way. So now, getting started, you can check out this particular issue. This contains all what I described in detail. Why are we doing end-to-end testing, and what are the expectations of these tests, and some resources as well. So everything is linked down here, and this is your starting point, because here you can also see the what is the progress that we are making in this area. So if you see the sub issues over here, this we are making sub issue for every command, and under sub issues we have another set of sub issues which are basically the sub commands. So for example, registry is a command, and registry generate, registry update, publish are the sub commands that you can take up. And the way you get started with it is you just create a sub issue with the command and sub command you want to work with, and you comment down on that. You comment down that I want to work with this, and we will assign you that. And it is also this is a good starting point as well, because you can also see, you can take inspiration from how other people are writing their tests, and also track progress, that where we need to head. And plus you can also feel free to add reviews to other people's work, to other people's PRs. Next is for the steps. So what we have this issue right here. Um, we know what we have to do, but how do we get there? So the next steps are: first, you pick a command and subcommand that I talked about. So the best way to get started with that is this particular doc. It has a very nice structure, and it explains you what is the command, what is the subcommands under that, and you can get into details by just clicking on the link, and you can see, okay, what is does the flags that it has. So you can go through this, and you will be able to and after like going through this particular doc, having an overview, I'm sure you'll have an idea that what command and subcommand do you want to work with. Now, once you have picked up a command and subcommand, how do you familiarize with that area? Is either you read these docs through code, like deep dive into these docs, and second would be code. So if you see here in this Meshery repo, if we have Meshery repo, under that we have Meshery CTL, And under Meshery CTL, if you go into internal and CLI root, so here you will see all the commands. So for example, if I want to see for registry, so I will click on registry, and registry is a command, and sub command under it generate, publish, and update. So I can see through code, I can understand that, okay, what does this command do? I can go through the functions. And the last is experimentation. So you can try out on your own. The last is experimentation. That is, you are trying out a command on your own, give some input, see what is the output, and through experimentation you can familiarize what the command is doing. And then once you have familiarized, so now we have a little understanding of what Meshery CTL does, what does this command do that I'm testing. Now how do you write the test? So there is this contribution guide which would be your go-to guide for this. This is written by one of the maintainers, Matthew, and it's pretty detailed. So let's go through this, and I'll show you the code too. So this is basic introduction. I don't think so you can go through this by yourself. And then we have some prerequisites. So you should have these things installed before you get started with writing or running the tests locally. And then batch score, again, a prerequisite. You just need to install some installation guides are present over here. The official documentation is also linked here. And apart from that, there is some guide on how you can install that. Then these guidelines are for related to Meshery. Like, we have set up basic tools, and now we dive into how do we since we are writing tests for Meshery CTL. So we need some Meshery related things to be set up before we are able to run these tests. So this is the guideline on that. So you make the server. So if I go over here, so in the Meshery repo, in the root directory, you can simply run make server, and it would take some time. The server would be running. I'll go through next steps till then. And then authentication. So if you are running this for the very first time, you most probably would be in need of running this particular command. If you run this command, then you would see this error, and then you should be running. So if I'll run this, I won't get this error because I'm already logged in, but I can just show how we can do system login here. So make sure you have all. So once you are in Meshery, uh, go to Meshery CTL. I'll just do this again. So we are in Meshery, we are at root repo, and then we navigate to in this, in here, we'll run. You also might need to run make command so that your binary is built. For me, it was already built, so that's why I did not. But I'll show that for demo. So you run the make command, and then your Meshery CTL binary would be there for you. Meshery CTL system login. System login would run if your Meshery server is running. So right now you can see the Meshery server is up and running, and now I would be running system login. Oh, a typo. So you can choose a provider. You can choose Meshery. So I have logged in, and now so we have completed these Meshery related steps, making the make server and system login. And now we move to understanding the folder structure for these tests. If you go into Meshery CTL, and in Meshery CTL, there would be a directory tests. Under tests, we have end-to-end. So here are the end-to-end tests that are written currently. So if I talk about the folder structure goes as we are using 3-digit numeric code for the command, and for sub command we are using 2-digit numeric code. So model is a command, and then under that I'm creating sub commands, so model list and model export, and then some important scripts: run test, setup, and tear down. So run test is like the main entry of program, the main entry when you run make end to end. This is where the code gets started, and then it would call setup. So setup would set up or everything that you would need to run all these tests. And then tear down is to remove all the temporary directories that were created while testing. So this is the basic overview of our folder structure, and the naming conventions are mentioned here in detail, and you can go through that while you are writing your tests. Now running the test locally. So running the test locally, when you should be in Meshery CTL directory. So if, as you can see, I am in Meshery CTL directory. I would run. And as you can see, the testing has started and these tests are passing, these some are failing. So you don't have to worry about some tests that are failing. The tests are still incomplete. So some of them would be failing, and some of them would be failing also because you might not have Kubernetes cluster running or stuff like that. So don't be afraid of that. Like, why are my tests not running properly? They are failing for me too. So it's okay. And now, so you can see that we have finally run the tests and it would be completed in a while. Yeah. So the test, have we are able to run the test locally. Now we move to, so if you want to run a particular file as well, like if you don't want to run this whole thing and you just want to run only this file and stuff, so instructions for that are also written over here. You can go through and run your particular files. Then where do you find the tests, apart from those sub issues, and where do you find the test scenarios, because test scenarios are important. So you go to this sheet here, in this particular sheet we have the tests written for CLI as well as UI. You can filter out for CLI. Right. So as you can see, some test scenarios are written action. This is still incomplete, and I'll be covering this in next slides. I'll come back to this sheet. Okay, so we know where to find the test scenarios now, and we know how to run the test locally. Now, about the development. So this is a basic overview of why we are writing end-to-end tests, what the purpose of it is. This section I feel is very important, the implementation part, where these key principles are very important to read. Because they are guiding how we are going about the quality of these tests. So this section is very important. Do read it before you are writing the test. Test naming conventions, everything comes under it. This is just to ensure the quality in tests. And then this particular section covers batch testing, like how do you write tests in batch, basic structure and basic functionalities that batch offers. And this is like very specifically written for Meshery. So I think this is a very good guide that you can go through if you don't want to, if this guide of batch official guides is very overwhelming, then you can just simply go through this and you'll have an idea and you can get started with writing the test. So functions are written over here. What is the purpose of setup and tear down functions that you'll see in a lot of tests. So all that is mentioned over here. And then test data. So if you want to, if you have like an input file, so where do you put that input file? There is like a fixtures folder that you should be putting that into. So all these things are mentioned over here. And the last and very important thing is that a lot of time when you are writing the test, you might encounter bugs, and it's very important to report those bugs in the Meshery repository. Just create an issue and select this template, Meshery CTL bug report template, and and maybe you can also take it up, or someone would take up and make sure that this bug is fixed. So yeah, that's about the contributing guide, and you can go through it while you are writing the test. It would be very helpful. the next is, so now we understand basic of, we had an overview of how do you get started with writing end-to-end tests. Next is, now actually when you are writing the test, what are the important things? So if you go to the Meshery test plan, once you have an overview, okay, this is how I can run the tests, and this is how I can set up my tests, this is the folder structure. But now we will see how do you write the test. So first you have picked up a command and subcommand. You have to first write these test scenarios and see what you can write this test scenarios, the action. So for example, in this test scenario, we have to update the Docker images. So what is the action that we would take? This is the Meshery CTL command that you would run for that, and what would be the expected outcome. So you can write tests like this. This would ensure quality as well as coverage. So this is a good step. You can copy this sheet and make a new spreadsheet and write your tests in that. And so first you have written the test scenarios, and after that you start writing the test. So you come to that. Okay, so for writing the test, we would be going through. For writing the test, we would be I'll be covering that in the next slide, which is basics of bats, right? So let's come back here, and then last is like practices and ensuring coverage. That would be covered in next slide. So let's come to so we were here, we have made the test scenarios, and now we have to implement those. To implement those, we have to understand how do we write tests in bats, right? So basic syntax is that for each test block, there is one test case, and run is the most important command, because using that you would run the CLI command and you would capture important information like status, output, etc. And then there are helper libraries, bat, assert, and support file. So these are for asserting your checking. So when I was first writing these tests, it happened that I reinvented the wheel, and I wrote a function that checks the output of the CLI command in a certain way. And later on, I got to know that it can be written in a very clean way using Bat's assert library. So that's why these libraries are important, because they provide you some functions that you can use in your code, and not, you don't have to reinvent the wheel or write those functions again. Like for bats files, this would be very important, because a lot of meshery commands are interacting with files, and so you would need to validate the files, and for that bats file library is very helpful. A lot of commands would also be interacting with Kubernetes resources. For that, this particular library would be helpful. So let's go through these libraries once. So I created this small directory that would give you an idea of the folder structure that you have to create when you are writing the test, and some sample tests over here, some generic sample tests. So fixtures is for the fixtures has the test data. So like I have this YAML file which is my test data, so I'll put this in fixtures. And then like for assert, uh, assert is the most useful library, because you would be needing that for all the commands. And so for assert, if we run this particular command, we should be seeing something on the terminal, and we should be seeing this particular line printed on our terminal, and that is what we are using assert output to just check that is it printing. Or we can use assert output as well, assert output with partial flag, which would just pick up a little part of it and check if it is present, right? So this is how assert functions can be used. And then if I talk about file functions, you can make a directory, and then you can make a file, and then assert if a directory exists or a file exists. So these functions, assert directory and assert file, these are present in the file bats file library. And then for Kubernetes, so if I want to apply my deployment on my Kubernetes cluster, so I can run this particular command and then verify. So this particular functionality is provided by this detic library. If you write it in simple bash, then like this command does not mean anything. But this functionality is provided by this particular library detic, where you can verify if there is a service named this running. So this is the use of these commands. If this is the use of these libraries, and you can check them out over here. I have mentioned the link for these. Now, ensuring quality. Make maximum use of utilities that are provided by bats and avoid reinventing the wheel. I have covered this point in the previous slide. And input, so for any input file, create that in a fixtures or test data kind of directory, so that your test file is clean. And last is that when you are writing the test, make sure that when you are creating a PR, you can write test scenarios. As I mentioned, you can copy this sheet, you can make a copy of this sheet, add some test scenarios and link it to your PR, so that we can, after your PR is merged, we can add those test scenarios here, because that is important for the maintainers. So it would be a good practice to have written test scenarios, not just coded ones. And ensuring coverage. So how do you ensure coverage while you are writing tests? First is start by writing the core functionality, and then you start with experimenting with different flags, right? And then flags of the command. So for example, changing the output directory, or using some flags that are present in that command. And then uh, core functionalities covered, different flags are covered, and then we move to different errors that the command throws. So for example, if I go into generate command, here I can see, okay, this error is being thrown by this particular command, by this particular function, right? So I can check, to ensure coverage, I can check I can write a test uh, I can write a test where it fails for this particular function, and that would ensure coverage of these lines. And so check for errors in the code and write tests for that. And then finally, if you're not able to cover the errors properly, if you are having trouble in navigating through code, then a simple thing would be to try with invalid inputs or invalid input files. So yeah, that's about ensuring coverage. So we have covered a lot till now, and is there any doubt till now? Then if there's not, then we can go ahead and start writing a test. I'll wait for a few seconds before I move to writing a test. Okay, so I don't think so there is any doubt. Now let's write a test. So let's go to the next steps that I shared. We will go through these steps and one by one, like tick off these steps and write a test. So the first is picking up a command and subcommand. So I have chosen a registry command and subcommand generate. And under that, so I'll familiarize you with what this command does. So for writing this test, I have just taken one functionality that this command offers, which is when you provide CSV files that contain a model, that contain a model, link of the model and description of the model, then registry generate can create a meshery model for you using those CSV files. So we would be testing out this particular functionality, right? So now we understand what the CLI command does. We know the folder structure too. We had gone through the folder structure. We know how to run the test locally and development of these tests using batch. So that's something that we would now write. Understanding the so for understanding the we have understood the functionality. Now I'll be just taking this particular command, and here I have to save time, I have written up the setup and tear down functions. These are nothing, I can go through that. So we have to load these libraries, and for like we load these libraries, we have written a function which is present in helpers. So if you go in this particular file, you will find this particular function which loads um, all your libraries support assert file, right? So you don't need to load them by yourself. You can just call this function. So I have called this function, and then I'm just writing like this is my fixtures directory, and this is my temporary test data directory. So these are like normal variables. And then tear down, after I have captured the output of the command, I would be removing this test data directory because it is obviously not needed. Now the output of the command is this is the output of the command, and the file where like the file that would be created would be this one. Like this is the basic functionality of a registry command. If you go through that, you understand. Right now you can like treat the command as a black box, and I'm telling you that you this is the input that we'll give, and this is the output that we'll get, right? So you can treat everything that's going on under it as a black box. And then we can start writing the test. So if we see bats, so we have to start by writing test block, right? So we'll write a test block, and then we'll follow the naming conventions. And naming conventions say that we have to write the what the command would do, what the test would do, right? So we are testing for Meshery CTL registry generate with CSVs would generate a model, and we have described our test, so what our test would do. And then we run the command. We use the meshery bin here. So this is nothing. If you see in the setup, we are uh, we are we are having a variable. We are declaring this variable which points to the meshery CTL executable. So this is what we are using here. We cannot simply use meshery CTL because like it is not an executable. This is the path to that executable, and so we'll use that Meshery serial bill, and then registry generate directory. Um, and we'll use the fixtures directory. Fixtures directory and output it into our temporary test data directory. And then we assert. So we assert for this that this particular output should be shown on our terminal. So I'll just write this, and then we should also check that this particular file is generated. So for that, we'll make use of the function from bats files library exist and file exist, and we use this. Okay, so let's run this test and see if it works. There's some okay. There was a small typo here, and there is a function here that I had written. We can comment it out. So if you see here, this worked, and Meshery CTL registry generate is generating a model. So we could assert this line, and also we could assert that this file was created. So that confirms that registry command is working perfectly. Now I did not cover about test scenarios here, so let's go through that. So here I have written one test scenario. If you go through this, if you go through to this sheet, there are test scenarios written for registry command in that. So if you see that there can be two test scenarios for this command. One is that it runs properly. That this is the test that we have written, and there's also a test that if by chance like model CSV, component CSV, or relationship CSV files are not present, right? So this is the use of test scenarios that you will be able to ensure coverage once you write them beforehand. And now as I wrote for a positive test, you can write for a negative test yourself and practice. So yeah, so this is the use of this test plan. You can write tests. And so that was about writing a test, and now it's your turn. You can pick up a command and a subcommand and get started. Comment down on that issue, and you can get yourself assigned a task in this area. And thank you, and I'm open to any questions.
Thanks a lot, Riya. That was just awesome. And like we all had, a lot of things to learn. And so for those who may not be very well be aware of all the things that were happening, and if it's feeling a little overwhelming to you, we will be making sure that the deck that Riya is sharing and also the recorded uh, session is available on our YouTube channel. So I already like shared the link to YouTube into the chat. And later too, we'll be sending out a community forum post with all the resources. But yeah, now would be the best time for you to ask any question around Meshery CTL and like its Golang part and E2E testing, also BATS, which is Bash automated testing. So if you have any question and if you have ever worked into this area or want to work into this area, this would be the very opportune moment for you to come up with any question for Ria. So we'll wait for 10
I
seconds.
I haven't overwhelmed people here.
Hi. Thank you for your training. Can you share the sheets cover the test case?
I can share the slides.
The sheets that you have like share about the
This
test case. Yeah.
this is included in the slides. So if you go to this particular slide here in the test plan, so I'll share the link to this slide, and you can
Yeah.
go to that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Ria. So I think no one has no question. Just one heads up that we will be having a community forum post, and when you take a look at the session later, and if you have any question, I think if Ria is available, you can ask into that thread so that other will also be benefited. So I'll quickly link down to our community forum where we'll have that post up very soon. So let me quickly type that down. Yeah, so there you go in chat. I'll quickly start sharing my screen. So we had overall a very great newcomers meeting today. We participated into this activity of having your attendance pull request up, and I think we had almost 97% participation. We are just missing a couple of folks, and hopefully they will be having their pull request up after the call. And I'll be making sure that they don't run into an issue. And then the awesome presentation from Riya on E2E testing. So, and this is not the, so just to credits where it's due. This is not the very first session that Riya has taken, and like she has given an overview on E2E testing in an earlier version of this call, and so you also can take a look at that. I'll be sure to link that too into the community forum post. Um, and yeah, there's a couple of moving parts when it comes to Meshery CTL, which is a command line client for Meshery, just like its UI client. So and it involves Golang and other technology that Riya was showcasing. So yeah, take your time, go through all of them. Like I said, we'll be making sure that all the resources are linked down and you have access to them. So at any point, if you feel like asking any question, the Slack workspace, if you're not part of it yet, let me quickly share that link too. There are other contributors and maintainers too who will be helping you out. So I think that was about the session. Now, in any like general question around community projects, or a couple of you mentioned about the internship opportunity, if you want to go ahead and ask that, we are like around 8 minutes over the time, but we'll make sure that we take those questions. So now would be the time. You can come off on mute or just simply chat, like put it in the chat box, and we'll make sure that we get you the answers. So Raja, do you mind speaking with the question that
Yeah.
you had?
Yeah, my first question is about I have raised my first PR to the I raised issue by myself and also fixed that issue. Also raised the PR, but I'm not sure it is merged or not. I guess it's overviewed and also it's fine to get merged.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
sure.
first, you mentioned
Yeah.
that you found a bug and you filed an issue. That's really great, and that's what we should be following instead of sending direct patches. So plus point there. Then you said that you already have a pull request up there. So know that it's possible that maintainers take a couple of days to get back to your pull request and take a look at it, offer you feedback, and then like the merge process comes in. So if it's not yet merged, have some patience, and I'm sure that in the upcoming days, it will be merged anyway. And when it's merged, you can actually see that in the GitHub UI that it's merged. So
Okay, sure. And like another question is, I have got a notification in the opportunity section on Slack. They are finding the interns for the JS. And what are the criterias about that, and like what are they really finding, and on which year they need to work on?
yeah. So in addition to the other opportunities that we have, that one was specifically for Canvas, which is one of the extensions built on top of Meshery and is like React, like JS heavy. So and if you only have intermediate to advanced level of familiarity with JavaScript, I think then one should sign up for that, because that's not the easiest of the things that to do. And now like the process that we follow, we'll have to go through this. This is core team participation, a program requirement, and how one is invited. So this is invite only program. I will be linking this page in chat so that you can read more about the details. But yeah, in summary, the detail would be that, yeah, you should first demonstrate the capability in Meshery UI, and once maintainers are, and you are consistently engaging and participating, then only maintainers will be inviting you to participate into that program. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, got it.
All right, Rajat.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any? Yeah, so Yen, like I said, we'll be linking that in here, and then we'll also be having a community forum post going. So I shared the link to our community forum, and in fact, we'll also be sharing this in the newcomers channel in Slack. So that's where you also can find it out. So yeah, all the links, including the ones that Riya was taking us through, they will all be linked in her slide deck, and the slide deck by extension will be included into these messages that I'm sharing. So yeah, we'll make sure that that's done along with the recording. All right, folks, I think now I would quickly highlight the other sessions that we will be having in upcoming weeks. The next one would be on CI and, basically stuff around build and release. So automations, GitHub workflows, cloud native, and anything that is involved in the community. Legendary maintainer Sangram, who is also on the call. Yeah, he's there and has, authored a couple of tutorials for us, and I mean, has been, pretty like important figure in making sure that the various systems that we have is up and running. So he will be taking us through this session. It will be held on April 24th. That's exactly next week on this newcomers meeting. So, and if you want to take a look at other sessions that too, I have all of them listed down into this table, into this issue. So once again, I'll be sure to drop it down in the chat. So that was about these sessions, and I think we covered everything. And if no one has no question, we are good to wrap up. All right, so thanks a lot, everyone, for participating and attending. Thanks a lot to Riya for giving us the walkthrough. I'll see you all in the next meetings. Till then, bye, everyone.